Welcome to Solid with YouTube channel. Today we're going to discuss about how to download and install SQL Server 2019 version. This is the link to download this 2019 SQL Server version. I'm giving the same link in the description. Just go to this link. Just click on it. Go to the download file. As administrator. Download. So I have already downloaded the same file here. So I'm canceling this download. So this is the file. Right click on setup. Click on run as administrator. So before going to install the SQL Server 2019 version, you have to check the prerequisites. So we have some two types of requirements, that is hardware requirements and software requirements. So hardware requirements is like coming to storage, we need 6 GB of free space in the hard drive, and the monitor should be 800 into 600 resolution. And come to the RAM, we need 512 MB of RAM for Express edition. For all other editions, we need 1 GB. But the Microsoft recommendation is 1 GB for Express edition and 4 GB for all other editions. The processor speed should be 1.4 gigahertz, and the recommendation is 2.0 gigahertz. It is also called as clock speed, and the processor requirement is like this. Coming to the software requirements, we need Windows 10 or greater Windows versions to install 2019. When .NET framework should be installed, that should become inbuilt for the OS. If not, we have to install .NET framework. So after checking the prerequisites, if all good, we can go to the installation. So this is a new SQL Server standalone installation or add features to the existing installation. So if you want to install a new SQL installation, then you can select this, or else if you have existing installation and if you want to add features to it, you can select this one. So I'm installing a new SQL Server version. Here you have to specify the edition. Since we are installing the free edition, I'm just leaving it as it is. Otherwise, you have to select which edition that you want, like Enterprise, Standard, or Developer Edition. If you're installing any other Enterprise Edition or any other editions, you have to give the product key. So I'm going without a key since we are installing the free edition. Just read those terms and license and accept the licenses. Click on next. If you want to receive any update from the Microsoft, like if any patches are available, any new versions are available, you can click here. Just it is. I don't need any updates from the Microsoft, so All passed except this Windows firewall. So we can ignore the warnings. If there's warnings, we can ignore. If it has failed or errors, we have to troubleshoot. If it is warning, we can ignore it. In production, you won't get this kind of errors because we have dedicated team for networking, so they'll be taking care of all those things. You won't get it when you're working in production. Click on next. So this is the feature selection screen. It's very, very important. So there are two features here, instance features and the shared features. In instance features, we have to select database in the service because this is a core service that we're going to work on it. And SQL Server replication, you have to select. And rest of the things you can, if you need analysis service, you can select analysis service. If you need any data quality service, then you can select data quality services as well. If not, we can go with these two features like database image services and SQL Server replication. Coming to the shared features, we have to select client tools connectivity, client tools SDK, and SQL client connectivity SDK. These three features we have to select here. This is the root folder. You can leave it as it is or you can change the root folder as well. I'm leaving it as it is. Going to the next screen. Here we have to give the instance name. There are two types of instances. One is a default instance and another one is a named instance. So whenever you're going to install the SQL Server for the first time, you have to select the default instance. So if you select the default instance, you cannot give any the specified names. It will take the instance name as per your host name. You can see your host name here in command prompt. Just go to the command prompt and type host name. So this is your host name. Okay. So based on the host name, it will create an instance if you select the default instance. So I'm selecting the named instance. And I have already this, one default instance and 6 named instances. So totally you can install 50 instances per a single machine. So one is a default instance and remaining 49 are the named instances. So I have already 7. I'm going to create another one. I'm giving the name as node 7. For this also we have some naming conventions here. The name should be start with alphabet and it can be having combination of alphabets and the numbers. And the name should not be start with number. I'm just giving this 7 node. If I click on next, see there are some validation errors. So the name should be starts with letter itself. So node 7 I'm giving. Next. Service accounts. Here are the 3 service accounts. These are 3 services like SQL Server Agent Service, SQL Server Database Engine Service, and SQL Server Browser Service. All should be in automatic. And this is like grant perform volume maintenance task privilege. This was introduced in 2016 after 2016 version. So you can check it. If you check this one, this would be helpful while you are doing this backups and restores. It improves the performance of this restores and backups. It enables the instant financialization so that the restore operations will go smoothly. Like it will improve this restore performance. Okay. It's up to you. Like you can click on it or you can leave it as it is. It's up to you. If you leave this, means you can enable later also. Like there is some local security policies. You can go to the local security policies and you can enable there itself. Server configuration. So if you want to access the SQL Server, we need authentication. So we have two types of authentications here. Windows authentication, the mixed mode authentication. In mixed mode authentication, we have both SQL authentication as well as Windows authentication. So I'm selecting mixed mode. So we have to create one Windows authentication. I'm just clicking on add current user. Let's click on add current user so that it will create a new user, new Windows authentication user. For SQL authentication user, we have to create a password. The username should be ACA by default. So you have to give a password. The password should be a combination of one capital letter, one small letter, and one number along with a special character. I'm giving the password as SQL at the rate of 123. S is the capital one. I'm going to the data directories. So whenever we create a new database, it will create two files. One is a data file and another one is a log file. So here I'm giving one separate drive for the data files, separate drive for the log file, and separate drive for a backup directory. Since I don't have a multiple drives, so I'm just selecting one drive and giving different folders. Right? Instances, creating a new folder called Note 7. So separate folder for data, separate folder for log. Since I don't have multiple drives, I'm just selecting one single drive and giving multiple folders. Okay. Show you like how it will be like here, see here. The setup should be like this. For data drive, for data files, we have separate drive. For log files, we have separate drive L. For backup, we have separate drive H. For TempDB, we have separate drive like this. Okay. And the TempDB. So TempDB is one of the system databases. So whenever we create a new SQL Server instance, a 4 system databases will be created. TempDB is one of the system databases and it also acts as a RAM for the SQL Server. You know RAM, right? It will store the temporary information. So like in this way, the TempDB also stores the temporary objects of the SQL Server. So for the TempDB also I'm giving separate drive, separate folder here. Just removing the old path and adding the new one. Instances, Node 7. Under this, I'm creating a new folder. Naming it as TempDB. So I have given a separate path for the TempDB, and we can also add the number of TempDB files here. There is a logic behind this. How many files can we add to this TempDB? It depends upon the number of logical processes we have. So we have to check how many number of logical processes we have. So based on that, we can add the number of files here. So I have the number of logical processes like 12. If you have the number of logical processes as 4, you can add 4. So I have 12, so I can add 12. But the maximum recommendation like is 8. The maximum recommended value is 8. Okay, if someone asks like if we can add more than 8, yes, we can add, but the recommended value is 8. So I'll show you. Like we can also add more than 8. You see here we have 12 temp DB files. Can add, but the recommended value is 8. So I'm leaving 8. And I'm going to this max top value. Max top value, the recommended one is 0. We'll discuss it later what is max top value and all. If you give this value 0, the parallel processing will happen. And the memory should be 75% of the total RAM. If your RAM is like 100 GB, the 75% of the total RAM, 75 GB, we have to give to the SQL Server. What is our RAM? RAM is like 16 GB. So 75% is 12. We can give 12 GB as a max memory. Okay. Yes, we can just click as recommended. 12 GB. It will automatically take 12 GB. So file stream. So file stream is related to the developer part. Like if you enable the file stream, actually the SQL Server will accept the inputs as like numbers and letters. If you enable this file stream option, it also accepts the images. Like it'll enable the blob storage, and you can also you know include images as well. So it's a like it will be decided by the developer if you want to enable it or not. But the thing is, if you enable the file stream, it enables the blob storage. Okay. So in server configuration, I have selected the mixed mode, and data directories. We have given dedicated drives for data files and log files and backup. 10 DB we have given the dedicated drive and the number of files we have added based on the number of logical processes. Max top values, the recommended is 0, can give 0. And the max memory we have to give 75% of the total RAM. So I have 16 GB of RAM, so I have given 12 GB. And the file stream, as we discussed, it up to like this developers part. So go to the next screen. So whatever the information that you have given, whatever the options that you have opted, all the information shown here. You can double check if everything goes good. You can go for the installation. If anything you want to update or modify, you can go back and you can modify the things here. So if everything goes good, you can click on install. It takes some time. So the installation is completed successfully. So what if the installation is not successful? What if the installation is failed? Way we have to check this, the logs, why it has been failed and what is the reason behind that. Way we can check, this is the path. C program files, Microsoft SQL Server, 150 is the compatibility level, setup bootstrap, log, and the summary.txt. This is the file, location of the file. Like you can check the status passed, but the reboot is required. Installation is passed, but we need to restart the server to reflect the changes. This is also an interview question. Here we have to check the installation logs if it is failed or success or anything. Okay, I'm just closing it. Okay, but to access the SQL Server, we need another tool called SQL Server Management Studio. It is SSMS that you can download it from here itself. Install a SQL Server Management Tools. So without a SQL Server Management Studio, you cannot access the SQL Server. So you can download it from here, download SSMS. You can also download it from Google itself, like just search here like SSMS free download. So you can download it from here itself. Okay. Just download. So we have to install SSMS now. So right click on it and as administrator. Now install. Installation is completed first, SSMS. So after the SQL Server installation, we have to do the server restart to reflect the changes. Okay. So just go to the search type SSMS. It's how you have to open this SSMS. So what is our instance name? Node 7, right? If you're trying to open the default instance, you have to type the host name. Okay, this is my host name. If you're trying to open the named instance, I have to type default instance slash named instance. Node 7 is my node. I'm selecting Windows authentication, so I don't need to give any password. Just connecting to it. If you don't remember the name of the instance, then you can drop down, can click on the drop down here, browse for more. Here you can see what are the available instances are like. This is the default instance and all other named instances. You can select from here itself. Okay, just like it. So this is the SQL Server. Looks like within the databases we have. We don't have any user databases right now, and as I said earlier, we have four system databases here. Okay, so this is how we have to install SQL Server 2019 version and the SQL Server Management Studio. Okay, you can see here this is a 2019 15.0 is the build number for 2019. So we cannot see the name like 2019 version, 2022 version. We can see the build number of it, like based on the build number. So we have to know which version it is. Okay. This is how we have to install SQL Server 2019 version. Some interview questions based on the SQL Server. There are since 1989, there are a lot of versions, but it's good if you can remember from 2000. It was the latest version of SQL Server. Here it was. It says to install. So, my team, how many application nodes we have. Which is secure secure application node. So types of instances we have. Instances we can install. Secure machine. Report is the recommended configurations. By configurations. Can be difference can be added. Yeah. Some installation logs. Installation for logs to get access. Then we can check the solution of a new logs. There are a lot of questions, but I don't remember these ones. I'll add more in the next video, and I'll come up with this answers for this question section in the next video. Thank you so much.